We thought that we would start the last day of September, leading into October and all the festivities thereof, to address something that's very important that I personally am horrible at. And today's conversation is going to be stop ghosting your audiences. And we're going to talk a little bit about techniques and thoughts that you may want to consider as you're thinking about the community that you surround yourself with. So today is going to be all about stop ghosting your audience. My name is Elizabeth Doss, and I am a content creator, social media manager, but mainly I work in the realm of animated GIFs and creating motion graphic designs for brands to use across social to build community. And it's an easy way for you not to ghost people, is to send them a nice funny GIF. But anyway, so I'm excited today to be joined by Stephanie Gillis-Paulgard, and I'm going to hand things over to her to introduce herself and also kick off our conversation on Stop the Ghosting. Over to you, Steph.
Well, first of all, I'll tell you, Elizabeth, you're not alone. I think we're all guilty from time to time because life, well, it's busy and there's a lot of things going on. As Elizabeth said, I'm Stephanie Gillis-Paulgard. I'm the brand architect behind Take Roots Consulting. I'm on the PR, the media, the strategy, the storytelling side of things. I've been doing it for, oh gosh, about 25-ish years. And I really help small businesses and nonprofits, corporates tell their story, reach out, start conversation using both those traditional tools and also, yes, our friend social media. Ghosting. Yeah, it happens. It happens to the best of us. It happens even when you have the best intentions of showing up because we're always trying to juggle. And so the whole idea behind today's conversation is really to give you some tips, some tricks on how to still keep showing up, continuing those conversations, and building community. Because at the end of the day, that's what it's out about. And for me, it's about creating those conversation starters. So instead of always like shouting out updates, although updates are good, right? Don't get me wrong, updates are good. Give people like this entry point. So, ever tried this? And put it out there to them. You know, what would you do differently if you knew? And you see some people taking that approach about, I was this many years old when, or if I had known this 5 years ago, or when I started my business. And that's the way you turn it from a shift of like content machine or content creator to community builder. And I really feel like that could change the way people show up. So it's less intimidating because you are being real. We always talk about this, Elizabeth, that people do business with people and you don't want your content to be boring. Shout out to Richard on that, but starting conversation online. So me, just this week with now 3 business days to go before Edmonton Startup Week, and things are a little chaotic, if I'm being honest. Lots going on, super exciting. But what did I want to do this week? I wanted to take, and I started it yesterday, featuring events, but coming at it from a place of where's the value for somebody? Why might somebody else attend? What are they looking for? How do we create that way of connection, conversation online, and then taking it into real life? And so it's that when you start putting it out there in that way, first of all, again, feels less intimidating. It's easier for me to show up when I'm just being me, and I, yes, I talk for a living, go figure, but putting it out there and allowing people the opportunity to engage in that, then you start to see those comments happen. So what should you do next? Well, don't just let them sit there. Re-engage with those people that are taking the time to connect and engage with your content. So this is just one way to kickstart this conversation today of exactly that, creating conversation starters, showing up and changing the mindset of I've got to create content to more how do I build community by asking genuine questions or giving genuine responses to things, injecting yourself into somebody else's conversation or post. It doesn't always just need to be you starting it by posting a piece of content. You can engage with your community's content as well. Over to you, Elizabeth.
Yeah. And I think the other part of that sometimes, like, you get in the comment section and you're like, I don't even know how to respond to this. And so I will say here's another great way to use ChatGPT, that you can give the reference of what the post is about. You can put the comment and say, no, help me come up with ideas of things to comment, make it funny, make it conversational, make it, educational or whatever. Like, and so you can, I know that may sound like cheating, but sometimes your brain is just fried and you just sit there and stare at the comment like, I don't know what to say to this fire emoji. Like, how do I fix this? And of course, I'm going to throw in there too, like, especially on on Instagram, and you can do this on Facebook, LinkedIn too. You can respond with a GIF as well. So it's still a way for you to kind of make that analogy or that connection to what somebody has posted to either something in pop culture or other ways. But it's a way for you to have a quick response to them, thanking them for their comment and that you saw it and that you understood it and that you made it a connection. And so anyway, I wanted to throw that in there because presence matters. When you show up, it matters. And Stephanie, I love that you shared about posting on other people's content. This is something that I've been thinking about lately too, Steph, is like almost gamifying it for myself. Cause like I have like little daily games that I play. Like I like to play the LinkedIn games that they have. If you type in games in LinkedIn on your phone, and then it'll say solve today's games. And there's like 5 or 6 games now that you can play on LinkedIn and see what other people are doing. But I'm thinking about this gamifying side of things because we've talked in the past that there's numbers that you cannot control. You can't control how many views you get. You can't control how many comments you get. You can't, the metrics, you can't control all of that. But there are numbers that you can control. And you can say, I'm going to find 5 posts of people in my community, in my network, and I'm going to go and comment a thoughtful comment on their post. I can find 5 people in my network that I've wanted to reach out to and either go look at their pages, see if anything fresh has come up, or DM them or send them an article that you saw that made you think of them, that they might want to know more about, et cetera. And so just fostering those relationships. So I did want to hone in on that. Like, how can I gamify that connection part of things? Because something, Stephanie, I'm going to throw it back to you on this, is posting and ghosting is one thing that we've talked about in the past. And how can you strategically think about when you're posting and what you should do immediately following a post? Because I think we've gotten spoiled with schedulers that where
Yes.
you just set it off into the world and you let it do its thing, but you should be conscientious of those like 30 minutes, 15, 30 minutes around when you post is a really excellent time for you to engage. So I'm going to throw it back to you to talk to us about posting and ghosting
Yeah,
and then
and
anything else.
it's a big bucket of thoughts on that topic, simply because exactly if we talk about community and building community, well, if you're just pushing content out there and hoping people engage and never going back in to acknowledge them, to thank them, to re-engage, answer their questions, their thoughts, that's obviously not good. But there is also a thought, and dare I say, I probably agree with it. It's not just about only sitting for that 5 minutes or 10 minutes after you've posted. The rule of thumb, and I'm certainly open to people telling me what they think on this, but the rule of thumb is you should actually be engaged a few minutes before you intend to post, right? And get in there and show that love, or provide the 2 cents of the engagement piece, and then post, tagging if you need to tag, doing those shout outs, all of that good stuff, about, again, from a position of building community and credibility and all that good stuff that we talk about a lot here on Cultivate. And then after the fact, right? So it is a before, during, after approach. I'm guilty of it, no doubt about it, that I'll put out, whether it's a reel or something else, and I will look to see how it's performing. And then I'll go off and do all my other 25 things on my to-do list and not go back. But even if you go back the next day and you re-engage or you look at the comments, because if you're checking your notifications, if you've got them turned off because you just need to focus, I totally get that too. I have turned off a lot of the notifications, which means that you have to be even more intentional to block the time, if you're one that lets time run away from you, to go back in and revisit. So there is an understanding that you have to do a little bit of work to prep that, not really the community. This is about the algorithm, right? And I'm not sitting here saying I'm smart enough and I've cracked the algorithm code. I have not. But doing that in advance of that, that you're going to post, and then thereafter. So I just like to take, even if it's the 5 or 10 minutes in the morning, the afternoon, and in the evening, to just go in. If not, it's overwhelming for me. Right. I'm doing other things. I'm actually producing content for other clients. I have other deliverables that I have to do. And then I have my own social media that I need to show up on. And usually, again, guilty, it's my own social media that it's at the bottom. It's at the bottom. And so if you're like Elizabeth and I, and your clients, and you're a service-based business, well, you're like, hey, I got to go do these things first. How on earth do you expect me to do this stuff? Well, that's when those schedulers do come in handy. But if you um, have this notion of, how do I put it? It's kind of like, be predictable in your own way. So find your own routine. If you know that, even if you use a scheduler, but you tend to post on Monday, Wednesday, Friday, always around the same time, then give yourself an hour or so after that time to go in and check and see how things are doing, or to engage, or to share it from, if we're on Instagram and we share it from a feed post to a story, because repurposing is your friend. It's another way to kind of get away from this ghosting your audience type thing. You don't always have to be coming up with new content. So by going back and looking at something that even performed really well in the past, because you don't have time to generate new content, well, hey, now I'm going to serve that up in a different way. And I'm still hopefully creating value for my community, and being seen as, I like to say, I'm a capacity builder. So especially if you're sharing tips and tricks, educational posts, you can serve those up all day long. We talk about being evergreen. So there's lots of ways to get around ghosting without thinking about, oh my gosh, I have to create new content all the time. And then you want me to go back in and re-engage 3 times a day? I can't do it once. What are you talking about? So to take that overwhelm away, that reposting or batching content, that's where the brilliance, that's where the magic happens. Thoughts, Elizabeth?
And yeah, it's so true. Like, and it's that being intentional about it, I think, is like the this is the part that's like, to schedule that time and to make it happen. And I think that's the other thing. So I need to get that figured out for myself. I think one of the other things, I'm guilty of all these things, by the way. I feel like I'm in a court, and they're like,
This is a therapy
guilty,
session.
guilty, guilty. On count number one of having posted and ghosted, not followed through with, guilty. On count number two, disappearing for long
Well,
periods of
weeks on
time, and that's the
end.
part that I'm gonna get to you too. Is this idea of all of a sudden you disappear for a while and then you show back up. The problem with that is sometimes, if you just if you disappear and then you post and then you disappear again, guilty, because I get busy. It really, it doesn't help you out, um, because the algorithms and stuff and people seeing your content, it's just going to be like a little poof. Some people might see it type thing. If you need to restart your account and get engagement and things again, you need to bank content up so that you're posting consistently, at least once a day or at least every other day, to start with, to show up start to show up consistently and restart the engine of it. So if you haven't posted on your content for a while, I would highly recommend, instead of panic posting today and then you leave it for 2 more weeks where you haven't posted, I would recommend that you get at least a week's worth of content created before you start post, so you could start showing up consistently to cover yourself in that time period, to build out more content for the following week, et cetera, et cetera. So that is one way to do it. And also to think along the lines of the content that you are creating, that ways that you can tell the story of it. Because I've been thinking about this stuff, seeing a couple of posts and things people have put out there, that people put out educational content, and sometimes it does okay, but it can do better, even better, if you can harness the story of why you are teaching that thing. What are the results that you saw from doing the steps that you're showing this person do, and how can you start that? I'm seeing that a lot more, whether it's in carousels or reels, instead of it being 3 ways. I'm just going to use this because, like, so 3 ways to restart your account. Instead of making it like about them, make it a story and say, I hadn't posted for 5 months, and here's how I restarted my account and gained so many followers or so many views. Like, you can make that first one into a story thing where someone all of a sudden can picture themselves in that content when you're sharing that. But my last thing before I hand it back to you, Steph, is this idea of perfectionism. My perfectionism hides in procrastination. I saw a sign the other day, Steph, that says, I crastinated so well that I became a pro. Procrastinator. So that was really funny. But this idea of perfection, we'll leave so many things on our photo libraries on our phones. Like, I still have content that I intentionally shot while we were in Europe from a year and a half ago, that I still think about. I'm like, oh, I could post that, but no, and then I have to do all these, and then you talk yourself out of the thing. And yet, if you start to go back through and farm these things, it doesn't even have to be a super technical thing. Go back and find a photo of a coffee cup, like Steph has probably a million on her phone, and then just write some text over top of it, something you're thinking about today, something that might encourage your audience, etc. Don't overthink it, because the over curated content is actually coming across as AI now. And so it's almost this idea of, how can it be a little bit messy so we know that a human is the one that actually did it? Not AI messy, where they give you 17 fingers in the post, but human messy, where the camera's a little bit shaky. You weren't wearing makeup that day, like, something, and getting just showing up and getting a little bit more real with your audience, and not being afraid to show up as you are. And so, Stephanie, I would love to know, how many pieces of content, this is on count number 67, uh, how much content is sitting on your phone that you could post that you haven't posted? How many
There
counts?
is about 13 reels in draft mode.
Oh, God.
Actually, that's low. I remember times where, again, I wasn't overly efficient with using the tool. And so I would see things, or like a music, a piece of music, and think, oh, I'm going to do something with that. And then I would start, you use the audio, if you will, right, and start that, but then make notes, like make notes in where the caption would be, so I would know what prompted me, or how I was thinking about that when I first saw it, what I was going to make, and then not go back to do it, right, for a variety of reasons. And I think what you said earlier is so relatable to so many, including me, right? And again, if our friend Richard was listening, and he'd appreciate this. It's like, the energy attracts the energy. So if you're bored writing it or creating it, chances are the people are going to be bored reading it or watching it and scroll by fast. So don't be boring, right? And it also goes back to that, yeah, okay, sure. Don't like try to be as real as you can be in your comfort zone and maybe push past the comfort zone a little bit. I am a filter person. I like it. It allows me to show up a little bit more maybe on camera than I normally would. And so if that is what I need to do to show up on camera, I'm going to keep doing it. So I'm okay. Filter queen, bring it on. I'm also okay with showing a lot of coffee or a lot of latte art. It's part of who I am. It's part of what makes me happy and fully energized. And so I'm going to keep doing that because believe it or not, those little things connect people together. I've brought it up so many times in our conversations, Elizabeth. It's still, it brings a smile to my face when I get DMs of other reels of either people in coffee shops or a barista, pouring the perfect latte art because somebody thought of me to send that. In real time, they were like, whoa, I think Stephanie would enjoy that. And they send it to me. Like, that's cool. And that happens, and it has been happening for a while, but from people online that are not down the street from me, that I don't see all the time. But there is a way to build community online. A lot of people still are skeptical about that, but I assure you, it happens. You have to work at it. You have to show up. You can't ghost your community and expect them to keep coming back for you. But it does happen. And so keeping that steady churning of the wheel, that cadence. If you have a day of the week, for me, it often was Saturday mornings while the house was quiet. That's when I would do batch creation. Um, Guilty. Haven't done that in a while. Life is super busy, and I'm so grateful that it's busy. But at the same time, yeah, there's been a lack of content creation over here. So I'm not sitting here, on a little pedestal saying I know how to do all these things really well all the time. Um, these conversations, Elizabeth, are friendly reminders to myself to give myself grace but know that you can do this. Everybody can do it. And for those that don't like to show up with their face on camera, there's other ways to move past that as well. There are ways to use. We always talk about B-roll footage when you're out and about or documenting your day. Use your voice. Do a voiceover. Let people feel the energy. They maybe don't. You're not comfortable on camera yet, but you can do that and then add those captions so people that are watching it while they're sitting on the train and don't have their earbuds in, they can still see the message that you're trying to bring forward. So there's lots of ways to still do it and easily step out of the comfort zone and build that confidence to keep showing up on a more regular basis. Thoughts, Elizabeth?
Exactly. I really quickly was going to show you this because I thought of you, Steph. This is a great way. Having a theme like Steph does with coffee, people send you content and all you have to do is like remake it. But this was the one that made me think of you. There will be coffee. And this is in quotation, someone trying to convince me to do anything. So whatever
Right,
the
it might
test
work.
is.
Might work.
But it made me laugh. So there will be coffee. Like you just tell me there's going to be a cat there, and then I'm there, even if it bites me.
But if people don't
But
know that about you, right, in your normal
right,
everyday content,
yeah,
then that's not a piece that they can relate to or engage with
yeah,
you on because you haven't shared that. And so while a lot of people show up and they think, oh, I got to make the sale, I got to tell them about the new thing, I got to do it. And yeah, you got to do a little bit of that, guys, but there's a way to sell without selling. There's a way to build community just by being you. There's, what, identify with people by being you. That's the biggest thing. Don't make it be like I'm one way online, and then when I meet you in a coffee shop, I'm like, who's that person? That's not how you appear online. That's not how you show up. So just try your very best to give yourself grace while you're figuring it out because it can be daunting. I mean, Elizabeth, you and I have been in this space for a very long time. And we're sitting here being vulnerable and saying, hey, we don't do it all the time. You know, we're not that great sometimes because we're working on client deliverables or we're working on big projects and we want to give our energy there. And we know that we should be doing these things, but we're also giving ourselves grace to go, we'll pick it back up. So for me, the last couple of months has been like, I'll show up maybe twice a week on Instagram. That used to be the place that I played a lot. And I taught a lot of people how to use that platform. And I love teaching them how to do it and learning the new features. And we talk about a lot of that here too. But I can be guilty of it myself. But I try to make it easier, to your point, what you shared earlier about, well, like, listen, if you're trying to re-engage or kickstart your channel again, think about how you can do it easily, which is through repurposing, moving content around within platform, or banking or batching that content. So you have at least 4 or 5 pieces that you can sprinkle throughout the course of a week to again kickstart that algorithm. Go, I'm not going anywhere. I'm going to stay here for a while. Algorithm, like, don't lose me, serve me up to my community. And then also, don't just do that, engage with your community, engage with their content, and don't forget to go back and engage with the people that took the time to engage with yours. And it's like a little checklist.
Yes, exactly. So, um, side note stuff. People, when there's sometimes comments that show up, I have two things to say here. Comments that show up where they're like, "Send me this post," or like it's just, you can tell it's a bot like type thing. Um, those are still comments. Now, I don't think that you don't send the post. If these people wanted your post, they could reshare it. They're wanting you to pay them to reshare it, blah blah blah. Don't take the bait on that side. They know how the platform works. But you still can engage with that comment, and your comments count as comments towards the post. So when you respond to a comment, it still shows up. Like, so say there was 2 comments on your post and you went in and recommented on, replied to each of those comments. Well, now there's 4 comments on your post. And so I just want you to keep that in mind, that metric of you responding actually really does help on that side of things. But I was going to tell you this quick story stuff. There's a content creator that I follow, and she um, teaches people how to superimpose AI things within her own, like within your own video. So like she's walking down the street and the bus, it turns to hot pink and it has her advertisement like driving by, and like, and then she has other like silly things where she's like holding a jacket and she turns it into a chicken or something. So she's teaching people how to like do stuff. But she made this post and she said in her caption, she said, mediocre AI is my love language. Like, and
That's
so
amazing.
which I thought was hilarious. So in the comment section, I had found a GIF that I think it looks like a SpongeBob like lettering thing or whatever, but it just said mediocre in the comment section. Well, then like some of her followers came to her defense in because they obviously hadn't read the caption, and so they were like, well, blah blah blah, like trying to come at me for calling her mediocre. And so then I went back, tagged all those people, and just said, by the way, I wasn't calling her. I think what she does is amazing. I was like, I was just referencing her caption, and she responded to it too, and was like, no, I'm the one that started this. I'm the one that called my work mediocre, and she was just highlighting it. Anyway, it was just really funny that even in some of those misunderstandings, those other things, it still was engagement on her content. I work with real estate agents, and they get the comments all the time of stop inviting people to move to our area because our city is like blowing up with people moving here from other states and things, and traffic's getting horrible and everybody's grumpy about it that are local, which happens I think everywhere, but except maybe out west in some of those little ghost towns. But she was like, they get on there and they like say stop inviting people, and like they like all these negative comments on that. But I leaned over to her because we were at a she's not my client, but I've helped her like with some of her social media stuff. I leaned over to her, I said, but those are still comments. So these people are still part of your community as well. And so you can commiserate with them like how the traffic's horrible, isn't it? But anyway, but when you think about selling your house, when you find out how much your house is worth and you're wanting to sell, just remember me. But anyway, it was just funny that even the negative stuff is a part of the community and you can commiserate and kind of mess with your clients. I
It's
do
very
see that
true.
we
It's
are at
very
the
true.
10:30 hour, so hour clock time, all the things, words. But Stephanie, I want to say thank you so much for joining me today. Now, next week, I know we're kind of navigating what that might look like.
Yeah.
I may still host a room, but Stephanie is off to do amazing things. So please follow her on her LinkedIn and see all the adventures that she is up to. But the week after, I think we'll be back. So please watch for that. If you guys have any questions about content creation or engagement or other things, we would love to hear from you. So please drop that in the comments. So we'll see you on Tuesdays at 10 a.m. Eastern, 8 a.m. Mountain. But I'm going to pass things over to Stephanie to give your final thoughts and to close us out.
Well, thank you. No, listen, again, I consider this conversation a gentle reminder
Me too.
to myself. And I just think one final thought is to remember to talk with your people,
Yeah.
right? With your community, not at them. Talk with them, engage with them, show up for them, add value. And remember, it's not about the numbers. And I know people will go, what do you mean? Of course it's about the numbers. No, I mean, when you're talking about followers, and if you're not able to show up for the people that are already in your community now, what are you going to do with more of them? So focus on delivering the value to the people that are already there with you,
Yeah.
and enjoy the ride. Give yourself grace. Show up as you as much as possible, whether that means voiceover work with B-roll or, yes, put that filter on and give a cups up to everyone. So thank you for being a part of the conversation today. Looking forward to all of the future conversations that we have here on Cultivate every Tuesday. So cups up. It is not a latte mug. It is a very shiny water with lemon. But cheers to all of you. Have a great week, and we'll see you again next week. Bye bye for now.